The courtroom reeks of waxed wood and tension, so heavy that the air is nearly impossible to breathe. Sunlight pours through the tall windows, casting over the rows of benches and glancing off the worried faces of onlookers, reporters, and family friends. Kody Brown sits in the middle, his fists gripping tightly in front of him, knuckles white, trying to look calm. But under the serenity, a tempest of anxiety brews. Every chair creak, every rustle of paper, every hushed word in the courtroom is magnified, as if the walls themselves are listening. On the far side of the room, his wives sit. Christine's face is pinched, nearly feral, eyes fixed on Kody as if reading the secrets he's kept. Her lips compress into a thin, chilly line, revealing a compound of anger and obstinacy. Robyn, sitting next to her, seems tranquil, though her fingers quiver as she intertwines them in her lap. She swallows with difficulty, looking briefly at Kody, her reserved self tense with tension. Janelle fidgets restlessly, her gaze roving over the gallery, acutely aware of the judging stares of the crowd. Meri won't meet anyone's eye, holding a pile of papers tight to her chest like a protective shield. Her face tense and white with fear. The gavel thunders, hard and ringing, silencing the crowd's murmurs. "We are in session for the case of Brown family financial disputes," declares the judge, his tone even but laden with weight. Every conversation ceases. The courtroom waits collectively. This is not a case of money. It is one of trust, betrayal, and the tenuous threads of family pushed to the breaking point. The first witness testifies on the stand. The voice of a woman shivers as she describes the early money management disagreements. She reports discrepancies in accounts, unauthorized payments made without knowledge, and decisions made specifically to be withheld from other members of the family. Kody hears it all, his jaw clenching tighter with every new detail, the weight of what he has done bearing down upon him like an unseen fist. Christine leans in, her eyes snapping, her lips shaping words that are precise, cold, and cutting. It's not about money. It's about trust, and trust has been broken time and again. Robyn enters into the conversation next, her voice gentle but resolute, relating her own periods of frustration throughout the years, episodes of emotional abandonment, fiscal deceit, and broken promises. Every word is carefully selected, and every word falls like a hammer in the courtroom. The gallery adjusts in their seats, feeling the tension, the naked vulnerability, and the subtext of old resentment. The attorneys hold up documents, each page a knife writhing in the air between them. Bank accounts, texts, and receipts, all carefully collected, now expose the choices that were made in secret. Christine smiles marginally, feeling the gravity of each page, while Kody's hands move restlessly beneath the table. Each sheet of paper holds within it the promise not only of his money, but of his family's fragile coherence. The courtroom mood shifts once more as Janelle stands up with an air of quiet authority. "I have something that can be described better than by words," she declares. Her voice is firm, though her hands tremble slightly. She places a small recorder on the witness stand. A silence descends. Kody's eyes open wide, his jaw clenches. Christine leans back a fraction, a glint of satisfaction in her eye. Robyn clasps her hands together, holding herself as if bracing for impact. The first recording plays. Kody's voice fills the courtroom, casual, familiar, even flippant, discussing decisions made without consulting the others. Each phrase carries the weight of betrayal, a public reminder of private actions. Meri's shoulders sag as she hears the words that cut straight to the heart of what she has long feared. The gallery hushes, murmurs buzzing with an electrical charge through the space. Even the judge leans forward, brow creased, listening intently to each inflection and silence. Christine stands up once more, voice steady, using words to define the greater emotional price. "We trusted you. We followed you, and in the moments that counted, you acted alone, without consideration for the rest of us." Her words remain suspended in the air, heavy and piercing. Kody's face constricts. His eyes flick between wife and wife, attempting to gauge the damage. Robyn stares at her notes, fighting to maintain her composure, while Janelle simply observes Kody, a tempest churning beneath her placid facade. The attorneys continue to unpick the threads, revealing the chain of texts and emails proving months of concealment. Christine recites from a particularly incriminating sentence. Kody had vowed openness, but deliberately hidden decisions about amounts of money. The courtroom gasps. Even the journalists stifle mid-note, feeling the weight of the disclosures. Meri, who still holds her documents, finally addresses a soft voice, barely audible. "I thought I could trust you. I thought we were all equal in this." Her words cut through the dense tension, a raw, exposed moment that everybody shuts up to witness. The gallery drinks in the emotion, the whispers evolving into a murmur of sympathy and astonishment. The session approaches its climax when Janelle drops a bombshell. She possesses an audio recording that confirms Kody knew about the unauthorized expenditures for months. The room erupts with murmurs and shuffling. Kody's face pales. Christine's lips curl into a slight victorious smirk. Robyn bites her lip, glancing down as if to hide her anxiety, while Meri's eyes fill with tears she cannot stop. The judge, noting the heightened tension and emotional instability, calls for order. The courtroom quiets, but the air is still charged with suspense. He glances down at the papers on his desk and nods. "We will hear this recording in the next session. Counsel, prepare accordingly." His voice is tempered, but the weight behind the words is undeniable. The next session threatens to unravel secrets that will destroy this family utterly. As the gavel comes down, the sound hangs in the air, ricocheting off walls of the courtroom and deep into the hearts of all who sit there. Kody reclines in his chair, a slight shiver running through his shoulders, aware that the revelations that are about to come might determine the remainder of his existence. The wives, each grappling with the weight of what has been disclosed, share silences that say more than words. Alliances, rivalries, and unsettled tension hang poised like threads waiting to break. The following morning, the courtroom is abuzz with anticipation, a quiet maelstrom of tension hanging over everything. Reporters and onlookers settle in with hardly concealed curiosity, their gazes flicking toward the Brown family like predators stalking prey. Kody sits stiffly at the defense table, his eyes fixed dead ahead, though his brain works its way through every choice, every hushed word, every secret he believed buried securely. Christine sits across the aisle, precise and poised, jaw set as stone. She occasionally inclines her head, gauging Kody's responses, seeking the smallest glimmer of weakness. Robyn's cool facade cracks every now and then. Her eyes dart to Kody, away, her fingers knotting together as she struggles with the turmoil of anger, betrayal, and lingering love she retains. Janelle is leaning forward slightly, her keen eyes sweeping the courtroom, a quiet resolve in her stance. Meri sits in the back, holding her papers, inching closer to becoming invisible from the burden of the scrutiny. The judge orders the court to be called to order. "We will start with the introduction of evidence concerning alleged financial and emotional misconduct." The words hang in the air like lead weights. Kody swallows hard, darting a nervous glance toward his attorney, while the wives exchange almost imperceptible nods. First on the agenda, Janelle stands to introduce her pivotal evidence. The miniature recorder she had placed on the witness stand yesterday quietly awaits its moment, the flashing light a forewarning of soon to unleash bedlam. She presses play. Kody's voice is heard around the room, relaxed, as if conversation, talking about cash transfers between accounts without telling the other wives. For a time, the testifying is dry, more of a mere legal ritual. But as the words go on, the emotional value increases. Every sentence Kody speaks has an undertone of manipulation and duplicity, revealing fissures in the trust that holds this family together. Christine's lips purse as she listens, a thin smile creasing the side of her mouth. "He's done it before," she says under her breath, but not so softly that Robyn doesn't hear. Robyn gasps, and she folds her hands in her lap, shaking slightly. Janelle maintains her stare on Kody, her face impassive but burning with silent vindication. The tape cuts off, but the effect remains like wisps of smoke in the air. The gallery is abuzz, whispers bearing the burden of shock and disbelief. Even the judge looks forward, his brows knitting, weighing the seriousness of what has been said. Kody shifts in his seat, his jaw tightening, eyes darting between Christine, Janelle, and the gallery. Next, the session turns to personal testimonies. Christine rises, her voice firm, cutting through the hum of whispers. "It's not just the money," she begins, voice steady but charged with emotion. "It's the lies, the broken promises, the nights we've spent questioning our own worth because of secrecy and deceit." The courtroom reacts immediately. Whispers spread through the hall, heads inclining imperceptibly, but no one breaks in. Kody's shoulders scrunch up, his fingers clenching the table edge. Robyn is summoned to the stand afterward. Her quiet, gentle voice is the opposite of Christine's, but it's just as devastating. She speaks of sleepless nights, of moments when she was ignored and belittled, of times when promises were made and shattered in ways that lasted. Her voice is steady but shaking, vulnerability tinging each word. She hesitates, swallowing loudly before continuing. "I remained because I wanted to believe in the family. But faith isn't sufficient when trust is again and again broken." Janelle's turn, her voice firm, but hands trembling slightly as she describes a barrage of late-night texts and phone calls she answered. Some containing cryptic words that hinted at alliances and decisions taken in secret without the other wives' knowledge. She reads out a section where Kody talks about transferring money and promising things that were never meant to be fulfilled. The gallery gasps. Christine slumps back a little, a glint of vindication in her eyes, while Robyn clenches her lip, fighting to keep her composure. Meri, still in her seat, rises at last to make a speech. Her words are low, almost otherworldly, but they hold a weight that shuts the room up. "I believed we were on equal ground. I did believe in honesty and openness, and yet, it is as if every nook of our family has been shrouded in secrets that I didn't even know were there." The faint quiver in her voice tells all, the quiet hopelessness of someone who feels deeply betrayed. As the session progresses, the mood changes vividly. The measured recounting of financial imbalances blends with emotional clashes, producing a charged film-like environment. The faces are painted in minute detail, the furrow between Kody's eyebrows, the flush spreading up Christine's face, the shivering of Robyn's fingers, and the tottering stance of Meri as she holds on to her papers. Every movement, every look, and every sigh is magnified drama, and brings the story to life for the viewers. And then the most jaw-dropping moment in the session. An undisclosed document is revealed. Kody is shown a printed list of late-night emails and texts shared with one wife, uncovering not only money manipulation but emotional manipulation, promises and betrayals, words twisted to dictate results. The gallery responds instantaneously. Gasps, whispers, and faint nods of heads mark shock. Christine reads aloud a sentence that cuts deeper than any accounting evidence could. "I trusted him. I believed him. And every day, he chose secrecy over honesty." Kody stands up, trying to defend himself. His voice is measured but strained, cracking under the tension of confrontation. "I never meant for anyone to feel hurt," he says, eyes shifting among the wives. "Each choice I made, I believed I was keeping us safe." But his words sound false against the tide of proof, voices, and feeling in the room. Christine's stare cuts into him. Robyn's eyes are bright with anger, and Janelle rises, unblinking, the incarnation of the tempest he has unleashed. The session goes on to include a dramatic reading of a timeline, carefully laying out who knew what, when. Each piece of information is greeted with gasps and chair shifting, tension at a high. The judge sits attentively, sometimes jotting down notes, knowing that the truth uncovered here will reach far beyond the walls of the courtroom. The session ends with the air electric with unresolved tension. Alliances have subtly shifted, emotions run high, and Kody's position appears increasingly precarious. Each of the wives, though joined together in their anger, has her own individual blend of betrayal, fury, and residual love that makes the courtroom seem more like a pressure cooker of raw emotion than a destination of legal process. As the gavel thunders, the judge raps out an order for a recess, and a small envelope is discreetly handed to the court clerk. One that promises to hold a revelation so incendiary it might rewrite everything the family thought they knew. Kody observes it being put on the evidence table, a flash of panic in his eyes. The hearing closes, but the tempest has only just started, and the next hearing will bring the secrets of the Brown family completely into the open. The courtroom is more oppressive than ever before as the third session starts. The atmosphere is heavy with implicit blame, and every corner of the space appears to vibrate with emotion. Kody sits rigidly at the defense table, hands clenched about the edge as if it could hold him firm against the tempest. The judge, a symbol of serene authority, scans the space, knowing today's session may turn the direction of the entire case. The wives are not in unison anymore. Christine's eyes are piercing, unyielding, as she regards Kody with a flicker of anger and victory in them. Janelle sits next to her, jaw clenched, body stiff. She is adamant, determined to battle but cautiously choosing each word. Robyn appears conflicted, torn between duty and frustration, her own equanimity cracking in small things. A tapping finger, a shifting foot beneath the table. Meri seems to fade into the background, her silent posture exuding a thin veneer of fear and resignation. She hugs her papers to her as protection, though they can all see the shaking in her hands. The hearing begins with Kody standing to face the court, his tone controlled but revealing tension. "I never wanted it to come to this," he states, scanning the wives. "I did everything I could to keep this family together, to keep all of you safe. Every decision I made was for all of you." His words linger, thin and beseeching. Christine rebuts instantly, standing on a huff of air. "Protecting us?" she spits. "By secrets? By going off and deciding things for everyone else without even talking to anyone else? What is this protection?" Her voice, strong and determined, slices through the courtroom. All eyes are on them. Each gasp, each reaction amplified by the tension that has been gathering over the past sessions. Robyn is summoned to the witness stand. Her gentle, quiet tone is a stark contrast to Christine's hot presentation, but it is just as compelling. She speaks of moments she was left alone, where secrets were kept and resolutions made in the dark, and where promises were broken. She hesitates, fixed on Kody, her eyes brimming. "I remained because I felt this family," she says, her voice shaking slightly. "But believing is not enough when trust is repeatedly broken." The courtroom falls silent, the air thick with empathy and tension. Janelle stands next. Her stance is upright, voice unshakable, though a slight tremble reveals the emotion she's keeping at bay. "I always attempted to be the peacemaker, to maintain harmony. But Kody's behavior has created fissures we cannot longer overlook. Secrets are more than words, they are wounds." She unrolls a string of documents, each showing midnight messages and undercover financial maneuvers, along with emotional manipulations revealing Kody in an ever more muddled, conflicted state. The gallery hushed. Even the judge inclines, eyes narrowing as the implications become clear. The session heats up when attention turns to internal family struggles. Christine and Janelle, formerly aloof and formal in their animosity, now coordinate their testimony, speaking with one voice. Robyn pauses, wondering whether to uphold their position or stand up for Kody, her inner struggle palpable. Meri sits still, but her stillness seems to increase the tension that fills the space around her. The attorneys methodically present records of private messages, texts, emails, and recordings, of collusion between some of the family members and Kody. Every new discovery piles on levels of deception. Kody is at a loss for words, stuttering over responses as each new finding hits him like a sledgehammer on his denial. His best-laid image of protector and leader starts to unravel with revelations. Christine stands once more, fury burning in her eyes, reading out one especially scathing passage. "Each time we requested honesty, you gave us silence. Each time we attempted to stand up to you, you deflected and manipulated. How is that keeping anyone safe?" The courtroom is still. Even the gallery can sense the crass heaviness of her words. Robyn clamps her lips tightly together, looking down at her papers, while Janelle's fingers grip hers tightly. Meri's eyes are downcast, tears threatening to spill. The tension escalates when a set of documents is revealed, showing that Kody had secretly promised certain wives preferential treatment in household matters and finances. Christine gasps audibly, leaning forward while Janelle's expression hardens. Robyn looks stunned, realizing the depth of the duplicity, and Meri's fragile composure finally cracks. A quiet sob escapes her lips. The courtroom is holding its breath in anticipation as these clandestine backstabbings are exposed. The judge advises calm, but this emotional tempest cannot be stilled. Witnesses speak of all-night sessions where promises were reneged upon and choices manipulated to suit some wives at the expense of others. The air in the court is almost movie-like. Sunlight streaming in through windows tickles on tears. Rustle of papers sounds like thunder, and each move, a hand clutching on a notebook, a head shaking in disbelief, has its own story of deception. Christine leans forward, her voice now soft but searing with controlled anger. We are supposed to be a family, but lies and secrecy have poisoned every corner of our home. We've been forced into division by choices that were never ours to make. Janelle nods, adding quietly but firmly, and the consequences are not just financial. They are emotional, irreversible, and devastating. Kody's attempts at explanation falter. His eyes flick from wife to wife, pleading silently, but his defenses are crumbling. The once confident man is now exposed, vulnerable, uncertain, and increasingly isolated in the emotional storm he helped create. Robyn sits quietly, struggling with loyalty and anger, while Meri's shoulders sag under the weight of heartbreak. The session reaches its climax when a surprise witness, previously undisclosed, is called to testify. This witness is familiar with family communications and actions on a personal basis, and their testimony threatens to reveal further secrets, perhaps turning loyalties and unmasking emotional betrayals no one saw coming. The courtroom quiets as they approach, all eyes on the drama unfolding. The witness starts telling of interactions that expose ways in which some of the wives might have steered decisions secretly, making Kody's position even more complicated. Accusations of manipulation, secret alliances, and covert communications come to light, and the family, and indeed the courtroom, is in disarray. Each expose hits like a physical blow, and the tension grows to almost unbearable levels. The Brown family is patently broken by the end of the session. Alliances are broken, trust is lost, and emotions are high. The courtroom is less of an institution of justice, and more of the platform for a very personal, emotionally charged war. Each wife has a combination of betrayal, grief, and residual attachment, and Kody is alone. Alone, vulnerable, and uncertain of what's next. The gavel thumps, marking the end of the day. Outside the courtroom, murmurs spread through the gallery. The judge looks at Kody, a furrow in his brow, and speaks softly. Be ready tomorrow. Undefined. You have no concept of what will be disclosed next. Kody lets out a breath sharply. The weight of expectation bearing down. Undefined, one thing is for sure. The cracks in this family are hardly repaired, and tomorrow's session threatens to test them to the limit. The courtroom feels like a pressure cooker as the fourth session begins. The air is thick with anticipation, a palpable tension that makes every subtle movement seem magnified. Kody sits at the defense table, his posture rigid, fingers interlaced in front of him as he waits. Each second stretches, filled with the echoes of the past sessions, the revelations, the confrontations, the betrayals that have piled up like storm clouds overhead. Seated opposite him, his wives are a combination of tranquil self-control and restrained passion. Christine's gaze is keen, piercing, never wavering from Kody for an instant. Janelle sits stiffly, hands clasped, her reserve-like demeanor concealing the seething passion below. Robyn, struggling against her perpetual conflict between duty and resentment, shifts subtly. A tapping of the finger, a spinning of the pen. Meri, so far back she's nearly invisible, grips her notes tightly, as if the physical action can ground her in the midst of her emotional storm. The judge raps the gavel. We will now produce testimony from a previously undisclosed witness. This witness avows intimate familiarity with both monetary and emotional exchanges within the Brown family. Silence falls over the courtroom. Whispers spread through the gallery. Eyes grow wide and Kody's jaw clenches. He looks anxiously at his attorney, who nods slightly, indicating readiness, though the tension is palpable. The doors swing open, and a figure emerges, a longtime family friend who has witnessed the family's personal transactions for years. She is enough of a presence to stir things up on her own. Christine leans forward ever so slightly, eagerness and interest flickering in her eyes. Janelle's lips compress, an unreadable look on her face, and Robyn instinctively tightens her hands into a fist, preparing for the inevitable storm. The witness starts with careful words, reliving moments of subtle deception and secret alliances that taint Kody in a divided and at times negative way. They refer to backroom financial decisions, emotional favors, and secret promises that set the internal dynamics of the family without informing all concerned. Each piece of information weighs, creating a tangled web of deception and half-truths. Christine's eyes harden as the witness recounts one late-night discussion she herself had never known anything about. One where Kody confesses to treating some wives better than others, both financially and emotionally. The courtroom gasps, the onomatopoeia echoing off of the high ceilings. Robyn's composure cracks. A flicker of disbelief flashes across her face as she absorbs the implications. Meri sits forward a little, a quiver in her voice almost imperceptible as she whispers under her breath, "I can't believe this." The witness goes on, bringing texts, emails, and audio recordings to life that prove long-standing suspicions. Favoritism, emotional manipulation, and financial secrecy were not one-offs but patterns that extended over years. Every disclosure falls like a sledgehammer, and the courtroom responds in whispers, gasps, and the occasional sharp breath. Kody fidgets in his seat, his demeanor faltering as he absorbs the weight of what is being revealed. The testimony turns to the in-group dynamics among the wives. The witness describes instances where friendships were built covertly, choices affected subtly, and fights staged without Kody's explicit participation. Christine listens with rapt attention, drinking in the validation of her own suspicions. Janelle's body goes tense as she learns about choices that could have been quietly manipulated into her best interests, while Robyn's inner conflict intensifies, caught between standing up for Kody and facing uncomfortable realities. Meri, till this point silent, grips her notes hard, every fiber in her body strained to its limits with tension. Kody tries to interrupt, his voice growing louder in frustration and desperation. "I didn't mean anyone to get hurt. All my choices were for the benefit of the family." His words ring hollow in contrast with the witness's exact retelling of events. Christine stands tall, her voice measured but acid. "Intentions are nothing if actions deceive everyone around you." The courtroom stirs, a ripple of tension spreading among the audience. The witness pulls out a folder of papers, bank records, bills and letters, all neatly arranged to establish a pattern of secrecy and favoritism. Kody looks at them, his face blanching with the realization. Christine reads aloud a specially damning paragraph. Kody vowed openness, but took major financial decisions without consulting the other wives, and on occasion, actively deceived them. The courtroom is silent, with incredulity rising up through the benches. The wives testify to the emotional effect of these revelations as the emotional intensity mounts. Robyn speaks of times of quiet desperation and bewilderment, of sleepless nights when she felt alone and overlooked. Janelle talks about the cost that secrecy has exacted on family cohesion, her voice firm but laced with repressed outrage. Meri finally breaks in, her voice shaking, disclosing the profound emotional hurts wrought by the years of deceit and unspoken resentments. Every story piles on top of the last, giving a complete picture of a family torn apart by deception and hidden resentment. As the session continues, the courtroom becomes a stage for unfiltered emotion. Faces are etched with tension. Kody's eyes dart nervously. Christine's expression is fierce. Robyn's lips press together, and Meri's hands shake slightly as she clutches her papers. Each movement, look, and hesitation is meaningful, so the audience becomes immersed in the drama, as if they were in the room themselves. The high point of the session comes when the witness reveals a shocker, an earlier undisclosed deal between Kody and one of the wives that contradicts all earlier statements and vows. The courtroom gasps. Christine's eyes broaden in shock. Janelle's mouth cinches into a strained line. Robyn's hands visibly shake, and Meri goes pale. Even the judge inclines forward, his face surprised and worried, grasping the significance of this discovery. The therapy session ends with strained silence. Kody leans back, his own face white and taut with anxiety. The wives lock eyes, and silence speaks volumes. Betrayal, disbelief, and unresolved hurt are all tangled together. The gallery stirs, disbelieving the enormity of what they have just witnessed. Each word, each revelation, has turned the dynamics on its head, leaving the family hanging in a precarious state of chaos. As the gavel comes down, calling the session to a close, A private envelope is passed to the judge, holding evidence so incendiary that even the witness didn't expect it. Kody looks at it apprehensively, aware that tomorrow could bring his toughest confrontation to date. The courtroom slowly vacates, the tension hanging in the air like a thundercloud waiting to unleash, and one question lingers. Who will come out of this storm unscathed? The courtroom doors slam shut, but the tension lingers. Down the long, darkened corridor beyond, Kody strides slowly, hands buried in his pockets, brain whirring with the implications of the last sessions. The ringing of the gavel still resounds in his mind, combined with the softly spoken words of the wives, each denunciation, each betrayal reeled off like an unending reel. The shiny floor gleams beneath the cold overhead lights. But Kody hardly even sees. His mind is filled with regret, fear, and anticipation of what is to be. Christine emerges at the far end of the hallway, leaning against the stairwell, posture stiff, eyes aflame. She does not move, waiting for him to come to her. But Kody recognizes this is no matter-of-fact talk. This is judgment. Her words cut through the silence before he can utter any, "You knew this would ruin us, didn't you?" It is not a question out of curiosity, but accusation, a sword wrapped in subdued anger. Kody gulps hard. His lips quiver minutely as he attempts to speak. "Christine, I never intended it to reach this point. Every single decision I made, every decision, I believed it was for the family." But even in his words, he knows they ring empty against what he has experienced in court. Christine moves closer, her gaze fixed on his, and every strand of tension in the hall seems to tighten. Christine folds her arms, hunching forward, her voice soft and incinerating. "Protecting us? By lying? By keeping secrets? How do you excuse months of deception and betrayal?" Her words resonate against the walls, weighing as heavy as countless sleepless nights, hushed fights after dark, and the unspoken despair of believing someone who failed repeatedly. Kody looks down, shame and remorse creased on his face. I figured I was doing what was best. I figured I could do it without hurting anybody." His voice breaks under the tension. He looks up at her, pleading for comprehension. But Christine's face is unyielding, a reflection of the emotional harm done. Robyn steps forward unobtrusively, her movement barely audible. She remains a little in the background of Kody, a witness to the scene, caught between the urge to protect him and facing hard realities for herself. Her eyes dart between Christine and Kody, a maelstrom of loyalty, fear, and fury churning in her eyes. Meri remains at a distance, barely visible in the shadows, clutching her notes like a lifeline, bracing for the emotional fallout that is about to engulf them all. Christine steps closer, her voice dropping to a sharp whisper. "You can try to justify your actions, Kody, but words cannot undo the damage." Kody swallows, his throat dry, knowing she is right. He had believed that his intentions mattered more than his actions, but now, faced with the raw emotional truth, he realizes how misguided that belief was. Janelle moves forward, her calm face hiding the smoldering anger underneath. "We are a family," she tells them, voice even but thick with emotion. "But trust is lost. You need to realize that the repercussions aren't merely fiscal or procedural. They're emotional, and those can never fully be healed." Her words linger in the silence, like the smoke of a fire that has already burned for too long. Kody's skin is white, shaking fingers hesitating to reach into his pockets, clutching them as if they could anchor him. "I know I've failed," he says softly, almost too quietly to be heard. "I never wanted this, none of this. I wanted to keep everyone safe. I believed I was strong enough to endure it." His voice has a whiff of desperation, a tentative plea for comprehension, forgiveness, some means to repair the cracks which have opened so very far. Robyn moves closer, putting out a hand to rest upon his shoulder, though tension in the conflicting loyalties between her is clear. "Strength isn't simply a matter of choices," she whispers, voice low. "It's about honesty, transparency, and the courage to face the truth, even when it hurts." Her words cling in the air, heavy with emotional weight. Meri takes a step forward at last, her voice shaking on the verge of breaking. "Here's what we did," she speaks softly yet cuttingly. "We trusted you, And for months it's been like walking around blindfolded behind someone who preferred secrets to the family that trusted him. Kody stares at her, the burden of her words weighing down on him like rocks on his chest. He tries to answer back, but his words stick in his throat. The seriousness of the emotional battle leaves him speechless momentarily. Christine folds her arms, moving closer again, her tone dropping but becoming more aggressive with each sentence. You can apologize, Kody. You can admit you didn't mean it. But apologies do not erase the nights we cried, the battles we fought, the nights of sleepless worry. The truth is here, in each stare, each piece of paper, each tear. And now we need answers. The corridor is electric with raw, near-cinematic feeling. Every motion is exaggerated. A hand shaking over a file, a sigh that resounds like a drum, a look that contains years of aggravation and unvoiced words. The imagination's eye tracks every minute movement, holding the public within the close drama playing outside the courtroom walls. Kody finally breaks his silence, his tone low but resolute, a blend of fear and determination. I will tell you my story. I will answer your questions. I owe you all that much. The words are full of truth, and yet, even as he utters them, the tension is still far from dissipated. Each wife observes him intently, measuring the honesty, anticipating the next revelation, aware that trust once broken is hard to repair. Christine leans forward, tears in her eyes, voice quavering when she poses the question burning beneath. Who did you favor? Who did you prioritize? And why were the rest of us not told? The corridor seems narrower all of a sudden, each sentence weighing months, perhaps years, of suppressed truth and unuttered bitterness. Kody hesitates, the moment stretching unbearably. He swallows, takes a deep breath, and finally confesses, revealing decisions, choices, and promises that had been hidden for years. The wives react in a mix of disbelief, anger, and heartbreak. Robyn's hands tremble, Janelle's jaw tightens, and Meri's face drains of color. The weight of the revelations hangs heavy, suffocating almost, and Kody can feel the full impact of his actions pressing down on him. At the conclusion of the battle, Kody is by himself in the corridor, emotionally bare, his defenses ripped from him. All the wives retreat, dealing with the emotional battering in their own manner. Christine with a blend of satisfaction and remorse, Janelle with silent determination, Robyn with a struggle between comprehension and ire, and Meri shaking under the burden of betrayal. The corridor is quiet now, besides the shallow breathing and the soft crinkling of papers, every sound making the moment more serious. In the fading scene, a warning whispered by Janelle haunts the air. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. Kody breathes shakily, aware that the next courtroom hearing will compel him to face not only the reality of his deeds, but the emotional repercussions long simmering for years, undefined. The storm is far from subsiding, and the family's fragile cohesion dangles by the slenderest thread.